Parkland is with us, a geologist, 50-year fellow with the Geological Society of America. Actually got suspended at one point from his job in Santa Clara County in geology because he predicted something that he was calling the World Series earthquake. And then, of course, there was an earthquake. Now, that doesn't mean he didn't just get lucky. I don't know. He was on Fox News yesterday. I found it interesting. I'm not saying I buy entirely into it. I just think it's worthwhile talking to this guy because there's no harm in taking some precautions. It's just a good reminder to me that we live in earthquake-prone country, and all of his former colleagues would agree that we're going to get a big earthquake in Southern California. They just don't know when, and they say neither does he. But, Jim, I always believe it's like a good conspiracy theory. The more logical it is, it could follow a logical path. Therefore, you add it up and go, well, that could be true. The better a theory it is. Yours is logical when you talk about tides and the magnetic forces on the Earth and the forces of gravity between the Earth and the Moon and faraway earthquakes, shifting plates that we're attached to. All of that kind of makes sense. Even the animal thing in a way, although it gets a little weird when you add the animals, but you've got some logical thoughts in there. So I can add it all up and say it makes sense. Except your colleagues don't agree with you, right?
Most colleagues do not, because their ego gets involved in their future, the money for their future projects. If you talk about the moon, you must be just a lunacy. And if you talk about the animals, oh no, that's ridiculous. So, but presenting daily measurements of missing pets that I've done for about 40 years, now 30 years, and continuing, there's a seismologist in Japan, Omori, who in 1906 had noted that there was this March 31st of 1906, a huge quake had hit South America, and then he noted, there was this, in 1897, there were these two great earthquakes in southeastern Alaska, and it looks like now something's likely to occur in between, and he said that he said probably Mexico or more likely California, and that was about a week before the earthquake in San Francisco earthquake. Well, the San Francisco earthquake was a couple of days late for me because it didn't fit my window perfectly. But when the book about me, I record all of the main quakes since the World Series earthquake and before that were at least 5 magnitude. I hit 23 out of 23 within one day, counting a window of 8 days.
Okay, so Jim, what does the fish washing up to shore in Redondo Beach or getting trapped in the harbor there and dying, the Japanese earthquake, the full moon, the proximity of the moon that we're going to see in the next little while, what does that add up to you? What are you predicting, where and when?
My monthly newsletter, I predicted March 29th to 26, 3.5 to 7 within 140 miles of San Francisco, 3.5 to 7 within 140 miles of Los Angeles, 3.5 to 7 with an epicenter located in Washington, Oregon, and a 7 plus globally, probably in the Pacific Ring of Fire. And a major quake occurs about once a month, about 15 a year, and a great earthquake normally about once a year. And but wait,
are you predicting, Jim? Are you predicting major earthquakes in all of those places between the 19th and 26th?
You have to look at the lower level. 3.5 is not major, but and it's not even damaging. But if you get up to about a 5.5, those are the kinds of quakes that I've been predicting with greatest care if I have enough additional information. And so, as I say, the seismic window based on tides tells me when, but it doesn't tell me where or how big, and that's where I rely upon local factors such as changes in thermal springs, geysers, animal reactions, patterns of small earthquakes. They then help me fix down the area of where and sometimes how big.
So what are you saying for Southern California?
I'm really concerned because of the animals that have preceded this huge tides coming up. And so I think mainly inland, not right on the coast, even though that's where the tide ranges are greatest. So I'm not so much concerned right now at the Bay Area, but in the Los Angeles area where my son's family lives and my other family, and then the Pacific Northwest. And those are the areas that are right now under the gun and I have greatest concern about. But I'm not calling for a 9 or an 8 at this point, and they see no reason to,
Are you telling your family to get out?
Not at all. No,
What are you telling them?
I'm just saying, be informed that this is the time of the highest tidal force that I've been concerned about since 1989. And at that point, remember, it was 3 years after the previous prediction of the high tides, and that occurred with a big quake. So prepare yourself. It doesn't hurt to have the transistor radios and extra batteries and flashlights and extra food stored up, and understand that you may lose lights and the ability to have immediate salvation from the Red Cross and other. But I do.
You're getting a lot of attention right now, Jim, because of what just happened in Japan, more than usual. And if this doesn't happen, you're going to have a big uphill battle credibility-wise, I would say.
Well, I've missed 25% of my 75%. I hit 75%